to the April 18th, 2022 City Council work session. Thank you for joining us in this remote meeting format we're using as our state and community continue to recover from the COVID-19 pandemic. For work sessions like this one, where there is no opportunity for public comment, those wishing to access the meeting can do so by watching the live stream available on our website, the broadcast on Comcast Channel 21, or by calling into one of the phone numbers listed for this meeting on the public webcast and meeting materials web page. And with that, thank you for joining us. And I will now turn it over to Councilor Syrett, who as a council president will preside over today's discussion of planning commission candidates.
Great, thank you, Mayor. Yep, so we are holding planning commission applicant interviews because we have an expected vacancy on the planning commission. So this is an opportunity to hear from select candidates for a vacated seat on our planning commission, which is one of the city's nominated boards and commissions. And based on applications received, the council selected 3 candidates to provide statements, but unfortunately we learned at the very last minute today that 2 of our 3 candidates have asked to be withdrawn from consideration for the seat at this time. So we actually only have 1 interview this evening. Naya or Sarah, do we know if our candidate is waiting?
She is.
Okay, great. So our candidate will have 3 minutes to present their qualifications and reasons for applying. And then counselors are going to ask 3 prepared questions. And I've asked 3 of my fellow counselors to take turns asking those questions. So I think we are ready. And Naya, can you please introduce the candidate for us?
Thank you, Councilor Syrett. Our first and only candidate is Diane Bailing.
Hi, Diane. Welcome. Thanks so much.
Hi.
Thanks so much for taking the time to be here and for your interest in serving on the Planning Commission. So as I said, you've got 3 minutes to just make a statement to help us understand why you're interested and would be a good fit for the Planning Commission. And then we have 3 follow-up questions, and you may cover some of what we're going to ask in those questions in your opening statement, and that's fine. So you're up.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Mayor and City Council members. Thank you for the opportunity to be with you today. I am a LEED accredited professional, a retired single parent, and moved here with my daughter 3 years ago next month. We live in the Bethel neighborhood, and I started going to local meetings to begin to get engaged. I was very pleased to see the involvement of government leaders at all these local activities. The mayor, council members, representatives. Open collaborative governance is very exciting. I want to be a part of it and believe I can make a contribution. My interest in serving on the Planning Commission stems from my long-held belief that it is the responsibility of each one of us to try to be part of finding solutions and making things better both locally and in the world. With regard to my qualifications and experience, I have great attention to detail from training as a paralegal, over 30 years experience in planning, project management and reporting, and excellent writing skills. I have also done volunteer work my entire adult life, both local, regional, and at national levels. I worked 15 years at the University of California, Santa Cruz in capital planning within the Division of Planning and Budget. After I retired, I was hired back for another 1.5 years as a consultant. My career highlights there include 3 major campus area plans written in the context of 2 existing master land use plans, 1 for campus and 1 coastal. I was planner for all phases of many new construction, renovation, and infill projects from pre-design through occupancy, including restoration of a registered historic building near the campus entrance. Planner for 2 satellite campuses, Scotts Valley and Silicon Valley, I served on the programming work groups, building committees, organized eco charrettes and project kickoff meetings. I wrote project planning guides and budgets for submittal to Office of the President. I wrote RFQs, RFPs, and grant applications. I customized the design and implementation of a campus-wide web-based facilities inventory system, wrote the documentation for it, and trained all the users. Annual reports were submitted to Office of President and to the state. I produced a statewide UC, CSU, and Community College Sustainability Conference and got the Campus Sustainability Office startup approved. Before the university, I worked in Silicon Valley for 18 years doing facilities and office services management for lots of very large corporations. I feel my wide range of planning experience will bring a useful new perspective to Eugene's Planning Commission and hope you add me to the team. Bethel needs to have a seat at the table. Thank you for the opportunity.
Wow, and 3 minutes on the mark. That was impressive. So Counselor Ye is going to ask our first question.
Thank you, Counselor. So your first question, Diane, is what key issues would you hope to address as a member of the Planning Commission?
Wow. Well, I have just begun reading all the materials provided on your website, the Planning Commission Resource Notebook, the Advisory Group Manual, and trying to educate myself. Because everything shut down shortly after I moved here, I was not able to get as involved in the community as I would like. So I'm truly just beginning to learn about what those issues are. My best guess, being a transplant, is I'm probably part of the problem. I'm not a climate migrant, but I moved from California, and I'm kind of happy to be part of your statistics in the migration you're studying. But I think growth brings with it all those issues of services, infrastructure, housing, and transportation. I know the Planning Commission probably doesn't deal with all of those, but I'd like to dig in whatever way I could be of use.
Great. Thank you so much. Counselor Groves is going to ask the next question.
Thank you, President, and welcome, Diane. Welcome to the community. Welcome here tonight, and thank you for showing an interest in applying. I really appreciate that. We need people to be engaged. So the question I have is, as a group, the Planning Commission often works on lengthy processes and decisions. Describe your skills, experience, and approach that will assist you in working in a constructive and collaborative manner. And I recognize you answered some of that in your opening statements.
Well, I'm not sure what part to go into more detail. When I was involved with all these major projects at the university, we always wanted to do an integrated design process. And putting together eco charrettes, for example, we would bring together all the stakeholders from every possible aspect of community and community services and the people involved with the project, and spend a day developing our sustainability goals for the project. So I'm accustomed to working with a team. Everything I wrote had to be submitted to Office of the President for approvals, budgeting. Every stage, as you probably know, every stage of construction, you have to get approval before you go to the next stage. So everything was collaborative. Everything about my work there was collaborative. And I worked with all levels of the administration. Because I did so many effective move management and space planning and design projects before the university, the chancellor had me do all of the chancellor's offices and 2 major divisions. So I had an opportunity to work across all levels of campus leadership and bring groups together to make those projects happen. Did that answer your question?
Yes, thank you very much.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Thank you, Diane. And then for our third question, Councilor Semple is going to ask the question.
Thank you, Counselor. Welcome, Diane. I'm thrilled
Thank
that
you.
you've decided to move here and be part of our community. You have a lot of spirit. And as I like to say, welcome home.
Thanks.
So this question might also, since you are new here, be a little something you'll learn more about, but you can also think of it a little more globally. The Planning Commission must often consider and balance complex issues while reviewing planning documents and making land use decisions. In your opinion, what are the most important factors for the Planning Commission to consider in these efforts?
I do need to learn more about it, but in reading the handbook and the things I've written by the city so far, I saw an emphasis on addressing issues from the broadest means possible, including a very broad range of decisions, points of view. I love that. And I think it's critically important. I have heard various people talk about feeling left out or omitted from certain processes. And I'm all for being as inclusive as possible. And I think that's a major important step for the Planning Commission. And I assume they try to do that. At least everything I read indicates that that's the case. I also was interested in interaction with the state and how much the state is involved, because I see there's a lot of state land use mandates and ordinances, and I haven't read them all, but I started to try and dig my hands in, because those land use issues are critical. And if there's going to be any degree of infill, there probably will need to be some changes. And I don't know how you go about that process, but I think that'll be a major issue. Did that answer your question, Council? Thank you.
Yes, that did. Thank you for your thoughts.
I have a lot to learn.
Yeah, well, I think almost anyone who applies to the Planning Commission finds themselves saying that. Before I ask if you have any questions, I'm just curious, how many parakeets do you have?
I have 2 in the next room. I hope they weren't too disturbing. And we have 2 in the back of the house that my daughter takes care of.
No, I think that's wonderful. I love the parakeets. It's a pleasant sound.
It is.
So, do you have any questions for us or for council or staff?
I do. I read in your advisory group manual, I believe, that the appointments made in June begins July 1st and lasts for 4 years. And I wonder, does the Planning Commission and all the other boards meet year round, or is there a hiatus, a break in the summertime?
Generally, they do meet year round. I don't know if anyone on staff can speak to whether they skip some months, because I think they might. And then I believe your appointment is to fill a vacancy. And so I think your term will only last as long as that vacancy's term was going to last. And then you'd have to reapply if you want to continue to serve.
Do we know what that is?
Yes.
Yes, I can chime in real quick. Each board and commission is a little different. And oh, by the way, my name is Jason Dedrick. I am the acting city recorder. Nice to meet you. Each board and commission is a little different. It's not as formal as city council where they have specified break periods, but each board and commission will often, skip a meeting during the year, depending on, if it's falling near holidays or over the summer. So it depends a bit on the individual commission. And then following up on what Councilor Siret said, this position is filling a vacated position on Planning Commission, so the term will actually run through June of 2025. So you're filling the 3 remaining years on the position.
Thank you. And then I wondered if it would be helpful at all to provide any references letters from folks who supported my work?
It's not necessary. In case you didn't know, the Active Bethel Citizens Neighborhood Association sent a very enthusiastic endorsement of your application.
That's nice.
So, I mean, I don't want to speak for everyone, but I would say that's probably the best reference you could have in the circumstance.
Right.
Because we figure they care about who's going to be on the planning commission, particularly out in Bethel. And
Yes.
so if you've got their endorsement, that speaks well of your application.
Good, thank you, thank you. Let me see if I had another question. I think I got an answer to this. The land use plan, the Eugene land use plan is not solely city regulated. I saw that there are a lot of state mandates and requirements, and that will be interesting to get into.
Yep. If you have the time, you might listen in to the 7:30 public hearing. We're having a public hearing on a enforcement ordinance, but then after that, we're having a public hearing on our the draft ordinance for implementing the requirements of House Bill 2001, which is a big chunk of the Planning Commission's work over the last 2 years, I would say. So you'll hear a lot of opinions about that if you tune in to us for the 7:30 meeting.
And if you miss 7:30 tonight, it's on the web.
It'll be
Right.
You can watch it forever.
And then, you know, I have been wondering, you have these meetings from 5:30 in the afternoon until what, 9:30 at night? When do you get to eat your dinner?
Typically, we get a break between 7 and 7:30, unless counselors take extended rounds and keep talking, and then sometimes that can be short.
Okay. Well, I came to the city council meeting with the Bethel group before everything shut down and spoke to you all about our requests for improvements in Bethel. And I have the greatest appreciation for your involvement and your openness and your being available, your availability. It's very nice. It really is very nice. So thank you all for what you do. I really appreciate it.
Thanks, Diane.
Thanks.
So I'll open it up. My script actually said, is there any discussion or questions from council for staff? So I don't know if there's any questions, process questions or anything. Go ahead, Alan.
Yeah, I'll ask this to all three of the candidates, but I'm wondering how much you know about the Middle Housing Code, HB 2001, and what your opinion of it is.
I've just begun to hear about it. I've heard some discussion about it amongst Bethel folks, concern about adequate allowance for parking, and if there are going to be height limitations. It sounds to me like what we used to call infill projects. Yeah. And I have quite a lot of experience with infill projects. They're extremely challenging. And I don't really know much about the mandate at this point. It's something I've just begun to look into.
Okay. Well, it might all be wrapped up before the vacancy on the commission is filled. So, Councilor Keating.
Thank you. You open it up for questions to staff about process?
Correct. Yes.
Thank you. And before I do ask a staff and process question, I want to thank you, Diane. You are an exceptional candidate, and you were one of my top 3 finalists. And I see no reason why I should gum up your advancement to the Planning Commission. I'm cautious about inviting you to watch our proceedings tonight because you might reconsider after tonight's 7:30 engagement. Nevertheless, there were 17 applicants, and I don't know if a full complement of counselors participated in whittling down their top 3 choices. I'm pleased that 2 of my top 3 choices advanced, but I'm concerned that 2 of the 3 finalists dropped out. And out of 17 applicants, now clearly I'm enthusiastic about your candidacy, but I would think that there would be some other applicants that would then, for democracy's sake, would move on to a finalist round. That's not the process in front of us, but I would ask staff to consider a process like that in the future, that should someone drop out, who are the next highest vote getters to move forward, or where do we consider, or where do we draw the line about, is it 3 applicants? Is it an arbitrary number? And is this a conversation for an operating procedure about how to best advance the widest array of applicants, so the community can see that there's a real thirst of folks who are stepping up to serve in this capacity?
So Councillor Keating, the other 2 applicants dropped out this afternoon. So staff was not in a position to pivot and ask other folks who were the next highest vote receivers to come this evening. I will note that your vote is not limited to those who we interview. So just so you know, so it's not a finalist in that sense. You can vote for any of those 17 candidates in terms of your vote for appointing. But obviously the interviews, help us discern, who might be best to choose. I did have the same question for staff about, could we have selected 5 in this case? Because I think the reason we've limited our selections in the past is because of time constraints, right? We had 8 boards to make appointments to, and so we couldn't do more than 3 maybe, or depending on the size of the board, how many vacancies there were. So that was one thought I wanted to pass along, was the idea that in an instance like this, where we're just filling a vacancy on one board, we have a 90-minute time frame, we could have maybe selected 5 people to be interviewed. But so Jason, I don't know if you want to respond or add anything.
Just to say that you did get that sort of history and protocol correct. It was typically around the number of applicants and the number of positions and the limited time and work sessions, when, like what's coming up in May for the full round. And so duly noted on that. And I think duly noted on the idea of being perhaps having some protocol in place, for bringing other people forward, if people decide to withdraw. So I think we can work on some protocol around that. And I'm not sure if it was mentioned during the full session here, but just wanted to say that both of those applicants expressed their interest in the vacancies that are coming up through the regular process for Planning Commission. So it was really kind of limited to this current moment in time. In a few months, both feel as though they may be have the time in their schedule to participate. So they both intend to be in the next round coming up here in a couple months for Planning Commission.
Thank you. Great. I appreciate that, Jason. Council President, I believe I had 127 left. I got a final comment, if I may.
Sure.
Thanks. I appreciate the feedback, both from Council President and from Jason. Consistent with positions I've taken publicly when I was on the Lane Community College Board and we had multiple vacancies. I would long to hear on an equal footing all applicants, and I recognize that takes some time. Oftentimes, the LCC board would come in on a Saturday to hear a dozen applicants. Again, I don't want this to sound at all like I am undercutting Diane's willingness to serve. Diane is an exceptional candidate, but when we have a pool of applicants, 17 of which, and we advance 3 for an interview, regardless of whether or not they're finalists, and then we interview only 1, I think it does democracy, small d democracy, a disservice. And so, Diane, I am enthusiastically championing your longing to serve. You have my support, but in the future, whether it's changing that protocol ever so slightly, Jason, to have folks in the wings, and or we allow for everyone equal footing to have an interview opportunity, I think it for democracy's sake improves the process. Thank you.
thank you, Councillor Keating. So unless Councillor Zelenka's question is going to be directed at Diane, I'd like to let her off the hook here.
I was actually going to suggest we let her off the hook and discuss this further.
Well, thanks. Yeah, I
Thank you.
Figured that out. But Jason, do you know when we will be voting on this appointment? Oh, no, I wanted to say goodbye to her.
Maybe perhaps Naya can see if she can still come back. Voting is scheduled for April 25th on this, so next week.
Okay.
Diane is attending. She can see and hear us. She's just not showing up in the screen.
Okay, thanks. I still wanted to say goodbye to her with seeing her face. So thanks, Diane, very much for your time and your application. And sorry, Jason, I missed the response you gave.
You are scheduled for formal appointment for this next Monday night, April 25th.
Okay, so Diane, you'll know by then whether or not your application was successful. Thanks so much.
Thank you all very much.
All right, good night.
Thanks.
So I just wanted to respond to Matt's suggestion. So Matt, one year, I think we got over 100 applications for all the boards and commissions that we run. So we don't just have one board that we appoint to, we have about 7. So it would be wholly impractical for us to provide opportunity for 108 people to interview with us. That would be all we would do for however long that would take. So while I appreciate that you're wanting, to have a more democratic process, I think it's impractical, at least in my perspective. So, Alan.
Yeah, previously we've had this come up before where we had people drop out, and we've reopened it and went back to the drawing board even after interviews. So I don't think that we'd be breaking any precedents if we did that. I have a problem with just one applicant. And I think the April date is just set because it's timely. This position has been vacant for a while, so it's a matter of filling it as soon as possible. If I'm not mistaken, Jason, right? There's no formal deadline for getting someone on.
That is correct.
So yeah, thanks. So with that, I would suggest that we reballot so that we can get some more applicants and then set up some more interviews as soon as possible, and so we can get a bigger pool. I really liked what Diane said, but it just makes me feel uncomfortable with just one candidate, especially with 2 dropping out the day of. It's kind of funky. So I would propose that we reballot, get 2 or 3 more people to interview, and then take our time on this very important position to be filled. One candidate just doesn't seem right to me. And we've done that.
So again, we have 17 candidates, but so Jason,
if we reballot and narrow it down to 2 or 3.
No, I'm just saying you don't have to vote for the people who are interviewed.
Yeah, that doesn't make me feel.
Pointing that out.
Yeah.
So, right. I mean, I don't know how we move this forward. If we vote on it, or we do head nods.
Yes, we need to vote.
Yeah. Okay. Then I'll, since I still have the floor, I'll make a motion to reballot and get 2 or 3 more applicants to interview, and then make a final decision for the Planning Commission.
Second.
Okay.
Was that you or Vegas?
I think Vegas clearly wanted to chime in there. Second.
Councillor Semple.
Thank you. I don't feel that this is necessary at this time. We all read the applications and chose our top ones. We do need to get someone on the Planning Commission quickly. And I think we've had a wonderful applicant. I understand, but I just want to point out, we've all looked at all the candidates on paper. And of course, we could interview them on our own if we wanted to do that. So I think maybe we need to make some protocol for the future, but I would prefer to just move forward with where we are. Thank you.
Councilor Groves.
Thank you, President. I think I'm with where Emily is on this. But if we do want to go ahead and interview more candidates, I don't know that we need to vote on it again because we've already voted. So if these were the top 3 vote getters, who's the 4th, 5th, and 6th would be a way of addressing this. I don't have a lot of heartburn if we go back to the pool and interview more, but I just don't know that I feel it's necessary. Thank you.
Lord Clark.
I could go either way on this. Alan makes a good point about process in that it seems as though we may be acting without enough deliberation on this, but I remember plenty of appointments and nominations that involved motions for substitution from those who were never interviewed. And I suspect that this one being a one-off, is there a, Jason, how long has this position been empty?
This position was vacated in October. One of the concerns in terms of moving this forward has been the issue of quorum for Planning Commission. They're pretty thin, and so if someone were to be ill or other issue come up, they might have a quorum issue. So that's part of the urgency on the part of staff in particular, sort of moving forward now, even knowing there is a full recruitment process coming. There was a concern from planning staff to not wait for that.
And what's the deadline for the full process?
The full process, that those interviews are coming up on May 16th. I can't be sure when that application.
What's the application deadline?
I believe it passed. I think that period is closed. Brooke, do you happen to know that?
Yeah, the general recruitment closed on Friday, April 15th. So that was for all of the boards and commissions. There is the possibility to extend in instances where we did not receive enough applications. We may extend specific boards and commissions.
Those two that were invited to interview today are a part of that pool of applicants for the full process, along with the other 16.
That's correct.
I'm comfortable not needing for us to go through extra process here because anyone else who's applied has already reached deadline, and there's plenty of opportunity yet for us to debate between many of those and consider their applications as well. So this does seem to have some urgency for me to want to get it taken care of, and anyone else will also be considered in that secondary process. So I'm comfortable not needing for us to add it at this time. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to put myself in the queue before I call on Councilor Zelinka. So yeah, I think I am not going to support the motion. I think this candidate was one of the top 3 candidates that folks wanted to interview. She's the one who arrived. She is obviously, in my opinion, seems very well qualified and well positioned to be a good addition to the Planning Commission. And then the 2 folks who were the other highest vote getters, as Councilor Clark just helped us understand, their applications will continue into this May bucket because that's what they requested. So they'll still be available to be appointed. So I feel like it's not perfect process, but I think it's a sufficient process. Councilor Simple, unless Alan, you took your hand down.
I was going to say, since we only had 3 votes, I mean, if that's not a very big pool for voting. I mean, if we were to go interview again, you know, one vote could get you an interview. It means one counselor could pick. That doesn't seem very good way to do business. And secondly, I don't think this takes very long. I think we did this whole process in less than a week. So I think it would take 1 or 2 more weeks. That's been vacant since October. But I can count votes as well as anybody. I don't know that there are any, are there any vacancies on the commission coming up?
Yes.
There are 2 additional seats that are coming up as part of the round. Yeah.
Did they reapply or are they open?
That I am unsure of.
Because 99% of the time reapplications get reappointed. Do we know that? Let's see. Tiffany Edwards is the one that is the only one coming up that's open that I saw. The other ones are in 2023. And I don't know if she's reapplying or not. Do we know?
I believe, so that is the one. I believe the other one is a position that was just recently vacated as well. So those would be the 2 openings that we have.
So who recently vacated?
That I can't remember at the moment. Just apologies, Counselor, for that.
Okay.
Counselor Semple.
Thank you. I understand how Councilor Zelenko feels about this. I was surprised to only have 3 votes also. You know, I wouldn't have a fit if we felt we had to open it up, but I do feel that we've all looked at them and can vote for anybody and we're going to get another chance. But I also just wanted to bring up, I think last time or the year before when we were doing commissions, we only had like 6 applicants for the planning commission and then somebody had to drop out. So, you know, it kind of, and it came down to not a choice. So anyway, I just thought I'd put it out there.
Okay. Are we ready to vote on Councilor Zelenko's motion? All right, all in favor, please indicate by raising your hand. 2, and opposed, same. And that's 5. So the motion fails. Any other discussion? Okay. Mayor, I don't know if I have to turn it back over to you to adjourn the meeting.
I don't think so. I think you can adjourn it.
Okay. Councilor Clark doesn't think so.
Oh. Well, I'm
Mayor, I turn it back to you.
I am happy to adjourn this meeting. Oops, am I unmuted? Oh, there we go. Happy to adjourn. We are adjourned and we'll see you back here at 7:30. Have a good dinner.